A crucial business deal was finalized. I felt relieved and was chatting with the representative, John. From now on, our companies would have a long-term relationship. I truly believed that. But suddenly, the client's manager, Mike, appeared and said something shocking. "What? You're a middle school graduate? We can't deal with such an incompetent person. The contract is off." John started to panic. I was stunned, unable to comprehend what was being said. Then Mike continued to degrade me with more harsh words. "A middle school graduate must be an idiot. We can't contract with a company that employs such people. A middle school graduate is incompetent." At that moment, I grasped the situation I was in. Given how far things had gone, there was no turning back. I uttered some words and was about to leave. Then, Mike, his face turning pale, ended up begging me for forgiveness. "My name is James, and I'm 36 years old. I grew up with my father, Tom, who ran a small factory. My mother passed away from an illness when I was little, so my father raised me alone. Since he had only one employee, he didn't have time to spend with me, and I was often left alone at home. When I became a grade schooler, I started waiting for his return at his company because I felt lonely at home. He didn't say anything about it, so I often watched his work. I spent my days like this, but as I became a middle schooler, I felt increasingly isolated. I was teased at school for being from a single-parent family and had no friends to speak of. Moreover, my relationship with my father worsened, and I stopped going to his factory entirely. I had no place at school or home. My grades were poor, and my confidence plummeted. No matter what I did, I felt like I couldn't succeed, and a sense of emptiness engulfed me. Gradually, I started skipping school and spent more time at home doing nothing. My father didn't say anything about it. One day, he suddenly asked me, "Would you like to go fishing today?" It was the first time since my childhood that he had invited me to go somewhere. I was surprised, and I responded coldly, "Don't you have work?" But my father just smiled. I took the day off. "It's okay to do that sometimes." I didn't reply, just nodded yes. I wasn't very enthusiastic, but I got into my father's car, and we headed to the sea. The sea on a weekday was quiet, with only the sound of the waves. It was a very magical place. He and I started fishing right away. He baited the hook and handed me the fishing rod. "Come on, give it a try. If you catch something big, we'll have a feast tonight." Following his lead, I took the fishing rod. Having been a shut-in for so long, the fishing rod felt unusually heavy. When I couldn't catch any fish, for a while, he suddenly started swinging his rod vigorously. I couldn't understand what was he doing. He explained to me, "This is how you lure the fish." I see. I tried to imitate him. And then, something tugged on my rod. "Dad, I think I caught something." "Well done. Reel it in slowly." We slowly reeled in the fishing line. We managed to catch a small sardine. Both he and I were overjoyed. "Thanks to you, Dad, we caught a fish." When I said that, he looked me straight in the eyes and said, "No, James, you caught this fish." I was moved and continued fishing. We caught several more fishes and enjoyed a wonderful time together. That night, he cooked a lavish meal using the fish we had caught. We had the dinner together in a long time. I felt like I was in a dream. While we were eating, he said to me, "Fishing is a lot like life." "Huh?" I was puzzled by his sudden words. I couldn't understand how fishing was like life. He continued, "Fishing isn't just about holding a rod. You need to try different techniques to catch fish. Life is the same. You can't just wait around. You have to go out and seize opportunities. Otherwise, life won't change." His words were powerful. So that's what it meant. For the first time, I realized that I had been going about things the wrong way. "Do you think it's not too late for me?" When I asked, he smiled softly. "You're still in middle school. Your life is just beginning. You can build the life you dream of from here on out." Hearing his words, I decided to give my all and not give up on my life. Seeing my determination, he looked pleased. From the next day, I started going back to middle school. Some kids teased me for being back, but I decided to ignore them. I didn't need mean people in my life. I was determined to walk the path of the life I wanted, just as my father said. Although it was tough, I gradually improved my grades. When I felt lonely because my father came home late, I started visiting his factory. He began teaching me about his work and showing me what he did. Those times became precious to me. Just a few months ago, I had given up on everything, but I've changed gradually and he seemed happy to see my change. I took it for granted that this happy life with my father would continue. But then, a storm-like event occurred. It happened in the summer of my third year of middle school. Just a few days before summer break ended. When we were having lunch together, Dad suddenly clutched his chest and started to suffer. "Dad, what's wrong?" I asked, and he weakly replied, "It's okay. Don't worry." But he looked in severe pain. I quickly called an ambulance. Meanwhile, his complexion was worsening. What if something happens to Dad? That thought dominated my mind. Finally, the ambulance arrived, and he was rushed to a large hospital. What if he has a serious illness? When that thought began to cross my mind, I was called in by the doctor and was stunned. With a look of difficulty, the doctor told me his diagnosis. I was worried because Tom hadn't come to the hospital recently. Tom has progressive cancer. I couldn't believe what the doctor was saying. He didn't tell me anything about this. There must be some mistake. When I said that, the doctor shook his head. He is already in the terminal stage. He probably couldn't bring himself to tell you, James. I collapsed to my knees. The doctor explained many things, but I couldn't hear any of it. I headed to the hospital room where my father was lying. I looked at his face. He seemed to have woken up and was looking at me anxiously. "So you heard my diagnosis?" "I don't have much time left." Holding his hand, I said, "Dad, what am I supposed to do without you?" I was emotional. He stroked my head and said, "I'm still here, and I want to see you graduate middle school. So don't worry too much." His words were weak, but I desperately wanted him to live longer. After that, he was discharged from the hospital. We returned to our usual routine. I started to cherish the time with him, staying by his side whenever I wasn't at school. One day, as my middle school graduation approached, I made a big decision. I decided not to go to high school and instead take over his factory. "We have enough money for you to go to high school," he said, but my mind was made up. His factory dealt with precision machinery, requiring specialized knowledge. I wanted to learn everything from him while he was still alive. Eventually, he agreed with my plan and started teaching me the ropes at the factory every day. He told me he was independently developing medical devices in his spare time. "Why are you developing medical devices? It's expensive and not very profitable, right?" When I asked, he looked serious and said, "If this device succeeds, it will save many lives. If it had been completed a bit earlier, it might have saved your mother." I was speechless. He was developing this medical device for my late mother. He was determined to complete it, but the development was incredibly challenging. And it seemed it would take decades if only done in his spare time. Since he started teaching me, his health had been stable, and I hoped he would continue to live. But the inevitable day was drawing closer. After teaching me everything, he collapsed again in the factory. His face was pale, and he was barely breathing. I quickly called an ambulance. At the hospital, the doctor's expression was grim. I realized that his time was short. I stayed by his side, never leaving him. That night, my father opened his eyes slightly and spoke to me. His voice was faint. "James, I'm sorry I couldn't always be there for you. But you'll be okay on your own now. Stay strong." With those words, he passed away. I was overwhelmed with sadness and couldn't stop crying. At that moment, the factory's only employee, George, rushed to the hospital. George had been working with my father since the factory was founded and was like family to us. He hugged me without saying a word and said, "Come live with me." After that, I don't remember much. The shock was too great, and those memories were wiped from my mind. George handled all the funeral arrangements, and my father was peacefully sent off to heaven. For a while, I couldn't do anything due to the overwhelming loneliness of my father's absence. During this time, George said to me, "This factory that Tom left you, James, you have to protect it." His words brought me back to reality. My father had taught me everything about the factory before he passed away. He must have wanted me to keep the factory running. I resolved to dedicate myself to the factory. But running the factory wasn't easy. When the clients heard about my father's death, they began withdrawing their business. Faced with reality, I was at a loss. At this rate, I wouldn't even be able to pay George, who was also taking care of me. Despite the situation, George didn't leave the factory. "Keep working hard, and the clients will return. This is a time for patience." George said this and continued working tirelessly. For George and my late father, I decided to work even harder. With this resolve, I started looking for new clients. One day, I unexpectedly ran into someone. As usual, I was walking around town, promoting the precision machinery from our factory. Suddenly, I heard a voice from behind. "Hey! Isn't that James?" I turned around fearfully and saw Mark, wearing a prestigious high school uniform. I was shocked and couldn't stop trembling. "Hi. Long time no see," I managed to say, but he looked me up and down, laughing mockingly. Running into him in such a place, I really had no luck. He was the person who had relentlessly bullied me during middle school. I'll never forget that winter in the first year of middle school. He made fun of the hand-me-down coat I was wearing from a neighbor. "That's so lame. Whose hand-me-down is that ugly coat?" Filled with anger at being mocked, I couldn't help but retort, "Shut up. It's none of your business." I regretted it immediately, but controlling my emotions was very difficult. Then, witnessing this, Sarah stood up for me. "Mark, stop being so mean." Sarah, the class Madonna, said this with an angry expression. Shocked by her words, he said nothing more at that moment, but his behavior worsened afterwards. Without Sarah around, he became even crueler to me, making school unbearable. I stopped attending school for a while because of him. Graduating middle school, I thought I was finally free from Mark, but seeing him again felt like a nightmare. He looked down on me just like he used to. "I heard you're working now, because you don't go to high school." Poor guy. Your father didn't leave you anything, huh? Although I was enraged, I knew the best thing to do was to ignore him, so I started to walk away. But he followed me, saying something unexpected. "What? You're ignoring me? Someone like you has no right to ignore me. Who does he think he is? Why do I have to endure this?" My pent-up anger took over. But I refused to give in. I knew that responding would only make things worse, so I kept walking. Gradually, he disappeared from my view. After that, I never saw him again. Time passed quickly, and 20 years went by. I was now 36 years old. Thanks to my sales efforts back then, our factory had transformed into a large operation with many clients. We now have over 200 employees and run a new factory. All of this was possible because of the skills my father left me and George's support. Without the two of them, we wouldn't have grown this much. "Mr. Johnson, it's time for the meeting. We need to get ready quickly, or we'll be late." George was still active and always supported my laid-back approach. "Please don't call me Mr. Johnson. It's embarrassing. We don't have time for that. Hurry up." With his urging, I began preparing to meet our client. "This deal involves millions of dollars. Do your best." George saw me off as I left the factory. I was headed to M Industries. M Industries is the leading company in the precision machinery parts industry. We plan to use their parts to manufacture a new machine soon. I entered the headquarters of M Industries. As I approached the reception, I saw a familiar face. I gasped. It was Mark. Why do I keep running into him in such places? I cursed my bad luck. Looking down, I hoped he wouldn't notice me, but unfortunately, Mark approached me. "What are you doing at my company?" "What? My company?" I never expected him to be working here. Had I walked into the enemy's territory? As I pondered this, he looked down on me again. This isn't a place for a middle school graduate like you. I'm here for a business meeting." When I said that, he laughed. "I bet it's just a small deal. We're not selling our parts to someone like you. My father is a manager here, and I'll make sure he knows." I was speechless. Mark knew nothing about my company. It couldn't be helped. With that thought, I ignored him and went to the reception. Watching this, he kept laughing at me. The receptionist showed me to the meeting room where I waited for the representative, John. Within a few minutes, John entered the room. I explained the products we needed for our factory, and the meeting went smoothly. "It's an honor for our parts to be used in your factory, James. We look forward to working with you." John smiled. "Thank you for accommodating our requests." After that, John and I chatted about various things. As I was getting ready to leave, the meeting room door burst open. It was the company's manager, Mike. John was wide-eyed, wondering what was going on. Then, Mike abruptly spoke to me. "Are you James? You went to the same middle school as my son, Mark, didn't you?" Behind Mike, I noticed Mark with a smug smile. Mike was Mark's father. Yes, that's right." When I replied, Mike said something unbelievable. "It seems you ignored Mark, huh? You must be pretty important to be ignoring people. Which prestigious college did you graduate from?" Seeing him smile, it was clear that Mike had already heard everything from Mark and knew all about me. He was intentionally asking to provoke me. "I didn't go to college. I'm a middle school graduate." Upon hearing my words, Mike and Mark started laughing. "What? You're a middle school graduate? We won't deal with someone so incompetent. The contract is off." Hearing this, John started to panic. Cancel the contract? It was an unexpected turn of events. I was stunned and couldn't comprehend what was being said. "What are you saying?" John shouted at Mike, and Mark raised his voice angrily. "We don't need to do business with someone like you. Our company will be fine without it." Mike added fuel to the fire with more degrading words. "A middle school graduate like you must be an idiot. We can't contract with a company that employs someone like you." Mike's voice echoed down the hallway, and the female employees at the reception were looking on curiously. A middle school graduate is incompetent. That's when I realized the situation I was in. Given how far this had gone, there was no turning back. I took a deep breath. John, noticing my demeanor, continued to be agitated. "Mike is wrong. James, please don't take it to heart." Hearing him, Mike and Mark laughed even harder. "John, why are you so hung up on doing business with a company that has a dropout? The deal can't be that significant." I made up my mind. "Then, I guess this $300 million contract is cancelled." "What? $300 million? There's no way." John, flustered, desperately began explaining to the two of them. "We had a $300 million deal with Johnson Precision Machinery. And what's more, President Smith personally handled this deal. How will you take responsibility for this?" "What? Mr. Smith handled it personally? That's impossible. I can't believe this nonsense." At that moment, a man appeared behind Mike. And he shouted at Mike in a voice that seemed almost otherworldly. "Everything John said is true. I personally requested the deal with Mr. Johnson. Are you saying a $300 million deal is insignificant? Mr. Smith?" Mike nearly collapsed in shock. Mark took a step back. "I came to check on the commotion and found this. How dare you treat my client this way?" Mr. Smith's face was as red as a demon's. Then he looked at me. "Mr. Johnson, I am deeply sorry. I can't find the words to apologize enough." Mr. Smith apologized sincerely to me. Mike, visibly shaken, started stammering excuses. "Mr. Johnson is a friend of my son, Mark. That's why I said those things. Since they're friends, it shouldn't be a problem. If I had known he was your client, I would never have acted that way. When did Mark and I become friends?" I was disgusted by the blatant lies coming from Mike. Mr. Smith watched this exchange with a puzzled look. Mr. Smith. My father is right. James and I are good friends. If I talk to him, he'll reinstate the contract. Mr. Smith listened, trembling with anger. Enough of your convenient lies. Mr. Johnson, is any of this true? I quietly shook my head. There was no truth in their words. Mark bullied me in middle school, calling me poor. There's no way we could be friends. Mr. Smith glared at the two of them. Mark rushed over to me, looking desperate. What are you talking about? We're friends, right? Let's restore the contract. I sighed in disbelief. Mr. Smith, I'm sorry, but I can't do business with a company that employs people with such low character. Mike and Mark turned pale. Mr. Smith stood there, stunned. But then Mike said something shocking. Mr. Smith, I will find another client to replace Johnson Precision Machinery. Let's just give up on this one. No matter what we say. It's clear we can't restore the contract. Mr. Smith's face went from disbelief to a furious rage. You too. How dare you say such things? Stop this nonsense, ahem. Mr. Smith started coughing from his anger. I approached him, patting his back. Mr. Smith, please calm down. This isn't good for your heart. Ahem. Mike and Mark watched in shock as Mr. Smith coughed. John began to explain to them. Mr. Smith recently had a pacemaker implanted. Please don't get him too excited. The two of them looked surprised, clearly unaware of this. Once Mr. Smith's coughing subsided, he began to reveal the truth they didn't know. Mr. Johnson is not someone you can look down on. He has saved many lives. Saved lives. Silence filled the meeting room. Then John handed Mike some documents from my factory. Mike was speechless as he looked through them. A pacemaker? Mr. Johnson manufactures state-of-the-art pacemakers. He approached us to supply parts for his latest model. Mike and Mark were at a loss for words. Yes, my factory now focuses on developing and manufacturing medical devices. This was the device my father had been developing before he passed away. Driven by the hope that an advanced pacemaker could have saved my mother, my father worked on it until his last moments. I continued his work, carrying on his legacy. If the development of this pacemaker succeeds, it will bring significant revenue to my factory. More importantly, it will become a beacon of hope for many people suffering from heart disease. I continued his work. Working tirelessly with George, I finally completed the pacemaker. I was overjoyed when it was finished. We had it tested thoroughly to ensure there were no issues, and then I began promoting it to hospitals. At first, few hospitals were willing to adopt a pacemaker from an unknown factory, but gradually, it gained acceptance and is now used in many hospitals. We receive thank you letters daily from people around the world who have had our pacemakers implanted. One day, while these developments were ongoing, Mr. Smith of M Industries visited my factory. I recognized his face from business magazines. I wondered why the president of such a large company would visit my factory. Then he spoke words that shocked me. Mr. Johnson, your pacemaker saved my life. Your technology is incredible. Please, let our company produce the parts Johnson Precision Machinery needs. It was unbelievable that the president of the top company in the machinery parts industry would personally pitch to me. But as I listened, I realized Mr. Smith wasn't seeking profit. He wanted to help people like himself who suffer from heart disease. If I were to manufacture pacemakers, I wanted to work with someone who shared my values. So, I accepted Mr. Smith's proposal. Today was the day of that meeting. This is when Mike and Mark, unaware of the situation, appeared. Mr. Smith let out a big sigh. Mr. Johnson has endured many hardships. He understands people's pain more than you do. And you, all you can do is look down on others. We're terribly sorry. Mike apologized and nudged Mark to apologize as well. But then, Mr. Smith said something no one expected. Mr. Johnson, if Mike and his son Mark leave the company, will you reinstate the contract? What? That's too harsh. James, you wouldn't do that, would you? I thought deeply. Mr. Smith was a principled and truly admirable person. We shared the goal of helping people with heart disease. I took a deep breath. Yes, please do. These two are only a source of trouble. They will continue to cause problems if we don't deal with them now. As I said this, Mark exploded with anger. Don't you have any compassion? You just got lucky with a hit product. Don't drag us into this. The room fell silent, and Mike began to yell at Mark. What are you saying? We're on the verge of being fired. With that, Mike suddenly dropped to his knees and began to beg. Mark can be fired, but please let me stay. I'll work harder than ever and make amends to Mr. Johnson. Mark reacted immediately. Dad, that's terrible. You're young. You can find another job. I'm too old for that. That's unfair. This is all because of what you said. Shut up. Just do as I say. The embarrassing argument between father and son began. Mr. Smith and John looked on in disbelief. The pacemakers we make at my factory save many lives. I don't want people like this making our parts. I understand. Mr. Smith stood in front of them. He glared at them and raised his voice. You two are reassigned. You will have nothing to do with the products supplied to Mr. Johnson's factory. As Mr. Smith spoke, the two looked at each other, trembling. Then they collapsed to their knees. The two of them remained speechless and despondent. After that, both of them were reassigned to a regional factory. Mike was demoted to a regular employee, but it seems he has turned over a new leaf and is now working hard. Mark decided to quit. He believed he could easily find a job at a better company than M Industries, but reality was not so kind. Unable to find a permanent job, Mark is now working multiple part-time jobs to make ends meet. This is likely the consequence of looking down on others for so long. I hope this experience serves as a good lesson for him. Meanwhile, my factory secured a $300 million contract with M Industries. This allowed us to release our state-of-the-art pacemaker, saving even more lives. On a personal note, I married my middle school classmate, Sarah, whom I had been secretly dating. George was as happy as if it were his own wedding. Life has its ups and downs, but I want to continue becoming someone my Father in heaven would be proud of. If you don't mind, would you like to come to my place? That day, I invited a beautiful homeless mother and daughter who had asked me for $1 to my home. A few days of sleeping rough had taken a toll on them, but after a bath, I was shocked at how incredibly beautiful they were. When I asked for details about their situation, I was stunned into silence by their past. A week later, Mr. Eastwood, the CEO of a major client, showed up at my house and said, "I want you to handle the contract." My response to his words was, 15 years ago, in the summer. When I was a 5th grader, I, David, was called to the teacher's office by my homeroom teacher, Mr. Anderson, during recess. I hurried to the office. This was the 3rd time I had been called in about the same matter since the day before yesterday. Mr. Anderson, I've told you many times, but I swear I didn't take John's eraser. Young me insisted desperately, but Mr. Anderson sighed deeply and looking troubled, said, I see. But David, 3 of your classmates said they saw you flush John's eraser down the toilet. I don't want to believe it. But didn't you have an argument with John last Friday? So, do you think I did it too, Mr. Anderson? No, it's not like that, but it's human nature to want revenge when something bad happens, right? Feeling unjustly accused, I angrily explained to Mr. Anderson. Last Friday, John took my goggles during swimming class and wouldn't give them back. When he finally did, he threw them on the floor as a joke. That's why we argued. But he apologized afterward, and we've been playing together during recess this week. There's no way I would do such a thing to John. But Mr. Anderson crossed his arms and said something that was hard to believe. David, I really don't want to say this, but one of the students who reported you is Sam, the son of a very wealthy man. His father is the CEO of a big company, and his mother, the PTA president, is quite influential. It's very troublesome for me if they become my enemies. So what are you saying? Are you seriously telling me that I should falsely confess and apologize to John for something I didn't do? Well, that would be the easiest solution, but even I think that's a bit too much. Outraged by his unthinkable comment as a teacher, I felt my blood boil with anger. I couldn't help but raise my voice. Noticing the commotion, other teachers in the office started murmuring, "What's going on?" Seeing this, Mr. Anderson got flustered, cleared his throat to cover it up, and said while glancing around nervously, "Anyway, let's discuss this again tomorrow." However, deeply shocked by this incident, I started experiencing such severe mental stress that it nearly led to a distrust of people. From the next day, I frequently fell ill. Whenever I walked into the classroom, my classmates would whisper and look at me like I was a criminal. Despite this, Mr. Anderson never publicly stated the truth. One day, after about a month of enduring such painful days, as I was about to head to school as usual, putting on my shoes at the front door with my backpack on, I was suddenly struck by a severe headache and collapsed on the spot. Eventually, my body stopped responding to me, and I could no longer attend school. A few years later, after moving out of state, I felt somewhat relieved and my health became more stable. I was able to start attending school again from middle school. The painful incident where I was falsely accused gave me a new goal: to become a lawyer. I wanted to help people who were suffering just like I did. I wanted to be a voice for those who couldn't speak up for themselves. With that determination, I studied hard every day. My effort was worth it, as I got accepted into Department of Law in a college. After graduating from college, I entered law school. And at the age of 23, I successfully passed the challenging bar exam. After more than a year of judicial training, I also passed the final exam without any issues, and finally, I was able to become a lawyer, like I had always dreamed of being. One night at midnight. Now, at 29, I'm constantly swamped with unpaid overtime, and once again, I barely caught the last train home. Becoming a lawyer turned out to be completely different from what I had imagined during my student days. I was happy to be appreciated by others, but the pay was lower than I expected, and I often got stuck with cases that senior lawyers didn't want. Additionally, listening to clients' complaints makes the time fly, and before I know it, it's time for the last train, just like today. Feeling somewhat dissatisfied with my daily routine, I couldn't help but let out a big sigh as I held onto the handstrap on the train. Thinking back, I spent my school years studying and never had a girlfriend. If life is this tough, it would be nice to come home to a cute wife who welcomes me with a smile. I muttered this to myself as I arrived at my station, getting off the train with a gloomy expression. Remembering that my fridge was empty, I thought about stopping by a convenience store on my way home as I exited the station turnstile. Near the bike racks, I noticed a woman holding hands with a little girl who looked about 2 years old. Upon closer look, I saw that the woman was a fair-skinned, short-haired beauty. I couldn't help but be captivated by her. However, I wondered what could be the reason for her being here with a child at such a late hour. Feeling a bit suspicious, I kept an eye on them, but when my stomach growled loudly, I quickly headed to the convenience store. However, a few minutes later, when I came out of the convenience store with my dinner, I noticed the mother and daughter from earlier watching me from beside the streetlight. It seemed they had followed me from the station to here. Seriously, being followed is like a horror movie. Their behavior made me shiver with fear for a moment, but then I saw the little girl next to her mother start to fuss. Without thinking, I found myself speaking up. You seem to be in some trouble. What's going on?" As I got closer and asked, the mother, squatting to comfort her daughter, looked up apologetically and said, "I'm really sorry to ask, but could you spare $1? We're very hungry, but we don't have any money to buy food." Until now, I hadn't noticed from a distance, but up close, I saw that their clothes were quite dirty, and their hair was greasy and unkempt. Not sure of their situation, I guess they might have been unable to go home for some time. Feeling sorry for them, I thought for a moment and said, "Maybe $1 isn't enough to buy anything, right? Let me treat you tonight. Please pick whatever you like from the convenience store over there. It's so late that other stores are probably closed. I'm sorry, I can only offer to buy something here." She shook her head vigorously and, almost in tears, said, "No worries. Thank you so much for your kind words to us, especially after we just asked for money out of nowhere. I promise I will repay the money you spent for us today someday." "No, there's no need to repay me. It's not a big amount. Please, get something for your daughter to eat." That's why she was fussing, right? Smiling kindly at the daughter hiding behind her mother, I led them back into the convenience store. A few minutes later, While buying sandwiches and snacks, I suddenly asked the mother about their situation. "So, you were at the station with your daughter at this hour because you don't have a place to go?" She hesitated but then admitted that their electricity, gas, and water had been cut off. Even though the nights were cooler, it was the middle of summer. Without air conditioning, their room must have been unbearably hot. Imagining their plight, I couldn't just leave them and decided to bring them to my home. This might seem intrusive, but would you like to come to my place? Your daughter is still young, and it's dangerous to stay outside like this. You've already treated us to dinner. We can't possibly. They were hesitant about my offer, but the exhaustion from the heatwave must have worn them out, and they eventually accepted my offer. I guided them to my apartment and let them in. Initially reserved, they were soon delighted with the air conditioning. I offered them to take a bath first. It must have been days since their last bath, so they probably wanted to freshen up quickly. I quickly explained how to use the shower and whereabouts the shampoo, and handed the mother some clothes that my sister had left behind. Meanwhile, I hurriedly prepared the bedding, heated up the food I bought from the convenience store, and laid it out on the table. Thank you so much for your kindness. You've provided us with food, a bath, and a place to sleep at this hour. We can't thank you enough. After getting out of the bath, the mother sat her daughter at the dining table and appreciated me as she spoke. In response, I smiled and said, "No need to thank me. I happen to have the day off tomorrow. Please, enjoy your meal." I gestured to the food I had bought, offering it to them. At that moment, the daughter, no longer able to endure her hunger, eagerly took a sandwich from her mother and began to eat it with great delight. Next, the mother also said, "Thank you so much," and began to eat the sandwich in front of her with gratitude. Let me properly introduce ourselves. I'm Anna, and my daughter here is Lily. We haven't had anything but water for a while. So today is our first meal in 5 days. We were really in a dangerous situation, and you saved us. Thank you so much," she said, smiling with joy as she ate her sandwich. Shocked by the fact that they went by 5 days without food, I paused mid-bite. "My name is David. I had no idea you hadn't eaten in so long. I thought it might be rude to ask personal questions when we just met. But I'm really worried now. Could you tell me more about your situation?" At my words, Anna hesitated a bit, but when she saw Lily happily reaching for a second sandwich, her expression softened. Then, making eye contact with me, she seemed to steel herself and slowly began to share their story. Anna and her ex-husband, Jack, met during their freshman year of college. Being the daughter of a company president and having attended an all-girls school, he was the first male friend she ever got close to. His friendly and easygoing nature quickly drew her in, and with his persistent advances, they started dating in their junior year of college. Both secured jobs at Anna's father's company, and 3 years later, they got married. However, when their daughter Lily was born, Anna's father was suddenly accused of tax evasion. He continually asserted his innocence, but the stress caused him to collapse, and his pre-existing health condition worsened, leading to his death. Afterward, Jack took over as CEO, but his personality drastically changed. Anna endured daily verbal abuse, which took a severe toll on her mental health. He called me ugly and a parasite every day. Then, his late-night returns increased, and I discovered he was living with another woman. 6 months ago, he demanded a divorce, and Lily began to fear him. So, we got divorced, but he took almost all our assets. I was determined to be independent and not rely on anyone, but the mental strain was too much, and I often fell ill. Because of this, I lost the job I had finally. As she spoke, tears welled up in her eyes. The story was so heartbreaking that I found myself at a loss for words. Lily's tendency to hide behind her mother or look a bit scared when she saw me must have been because of her ex-husband's behavior. Understanding this, I made a proposal to them. I'm actually a lawyer. Not sharing the marital assets is a violation of civil law, so you could sue him. Gathering evidence on other matters could also get you substantial compensation. While a lawsuit is emotionally taxing, it might help improve your situation. If you need assistance, please let me know. I'll support you fully. She looked a bit surprised and murmured, "You're a lawyer?" After pondering for a while, she earnestly asked, "I can't decide right now, but if it comes to that, I would appreciate your help. Although she conversed with me with a bright smile, I knew she was hiding a lot of pain. She was likely holding back her emotions to avoid worrying Lily, who was beside her. As a mother, she's trying to keep the atmosphere calm for her daughter. How could her ex-husband abandon such a young child and his devoted wife without hesitation? And take most of their assets to live with another woman? Thinking that, I felt like Anna's ex-husband was a demon, and the more I listened to her story, the more my anger simmered. The second morning after they came to my place. While sitting on the sofa in my pajamas, watching TV, Lily woke up and climbed onto my lap, snuggling up to me. Pointing at my face, she smiled and said, "Dave." It seemed she finally understood I wasn't a bad person. "That's right, my name is Dave." "You finally remembered." She was so adorable that I almost wanted to nuzzle her chubby little cheeks, but I didn't want to be disliked because of my stubbly beard. So I held back. Looking closely, I noticed her well-defined features were just like Anna's. "Lily has really taken a liking to you." She's generally shy around men, so this is the first time I've seen her being playful like this. Anna, who had just woken up, said this in surprise. Laughing, I responded, "It feels like I have a daughter before getting a girlfriend," as I patted Lily's hair. Anna watched us with a gentle expression and then quietly said, "I wish I could snuggle as good as she is." Surprised, I asked, "What?" and she blushed, quickly retreating to the kitchen. After we finished breakfast, Anna started packing, saying she would visit an uncle who had always been kind to her. "If you're worried about imposing, please don't. Lily seems to be comfortable here. And I would feel more at ease with you both around rather than being alone. Thank you, but I feel like I won't be able to move forward if I keep relying on you." My uncle and I were close. But I felt guilty about burdening him with my problems. However, I've decided to take the first step and visit him. My suggestion was politely declined, as she felt it might be too much to accept. However, it's a good thing that her feelings about not wanting to inconvenience others are changing, and she's learning to rely on people. Thinking this, I handed her $500 from my wallet and said with a smile, "Please come to me anytime you're in trouble. It's okay to tell someone when you're struggling. I think you tend to endure until the very end." Hearing this, her eyes filled with tears, and she said gratefully in a trembling voice, "Thank you." With that, the two of them appreciated deeply at the doorway once more, saying, "We'll visit again," and waved as they left. A week later, during the afternoon, a man in his 60s, introducing himself as Anna's uncle, visited my home. His name was Thomas Eastwood. I recognized him that he is the CEO of Eastwood Securities and a client of our law firm. By the time he learned about Anna and Jack's divorce, she and Lily were already missing, and when he asked Jack, all he said was, "I don't know." Because of that, he considered the possibility of a crime and desperately asked the police to help search. Until Anna and Lily showed up on his doorstep on their own a few days ago. I was able to reunite with the two of them thanks to you. I heard you gave them a place to sleep, food, and even listened to their troubles. So today, I've come to thank you." He said this with a warm smile. In response, I humbly said, No, it was nothing significant." Anna's father, my brother, was the CEO of Eastwood Electrical. He was accused of tax evasion out of nowhere. But he was an honest man who would never do such a thing. After his death, for some reason, Jack took over as CEO. Despite my brother telling me his eldest son, who was abroad, would succeed him. This whole situation feels very suspicious to me. His gaze was earnest as he spoke. Although I couldn't say it to her face, I had suspected there might be something behind Jack's sudden change when Anna told me her story. I nodded in agreement immediately upon hearing his words and shared my own thoughts. I don't know if Anna is aware, but Jack recently remarried and has been living lavishly with the assets he took. This enrages me. And I want to sue him considering all the suspicions arising. What? He remarried? After making Anna and Lily suffer so much, how could he? Our law firm has some of the best lawyers. And I'm sure we can help you, Mr. Eastwood. Angrily, I replied, but he shook his head and said, No, I want you to handle it. It's rare to find someone as sincere and trustworthy as you. I don't just need someone to recite laws, I need someone who can appeal to him on a human level. For Anna and Lily's sake, I would like to ask you. David. He said this, extending his hand to me with conviction. Remembering Anna and Lily's situation from a week ago, there was no room for hesitation. Eagerly, I shook Mr. Eastwood's hand firmly and said, "The pleasure is mine." "Thank you." Thus, I teamed up with Mr. Eastwood from Eastwood Securities to thoroughly investigate Jack. Later, when I looked into Jack's family registry, I discovered he had been adopted as a child. Finding this suspicious, I contacted a detective agency we've worked with for years to delve into his background. What they uncovered left me stunned as I jotted down notes during our call. Jack's biological parents ran Smith Iron Works, a subcontractor for Eastwood Electrical. During a severe recession, Eastwood Electrical terminated their contract, plunging Jack's family into financial hardship. This event caused his father to disappear, his mother to be hospitalized with a mental illness, and his family to break apart, leading to Jack being put up for adoption. I muttered to myself and then called Mr. Eastwood. I then called Anna, and at her request, we arranged a meeting with Jack included. On the day of the meeting, we rented a meeting room at our firm where Anna, Mr. Eastwood, Jack, and I gathered. Lily was with Mrs. Eastwood because she cried, "I don't want to see Daddy." In the tense atmosphere, I told Jack about our investigation into his background. "Were you harboring resentment towards Eastwood Electrical, and specifically Mr. Eastwood, Anna's father, for your family's misfortunes? Did you marry Anna as part of a revenge plan, spreading false rumors to oust her father?" Jack scratched his head furiously and, with a pained expression, began to speak. "Yes, when I met Anna in college, I saw it as a chance for revenge. I pretended to love you, Anna, and eventually married you. I spread the tax evasion rumors to make Mr. Eastwood suffer like my family did." Hearing this, Anna looked down sadly, and her uncle, Mr. Eastwood, trembled with anger. Trying to remain composed, I continued questioning Jack. "You say you didn't love her, but did you really mean that? Could you really marry someone and have a child with them without any genuine feelings?" "Shut up. I never had any feelings for Anna. She was a pampered girl who never knew hardship. All I felt was disdain. I never asked for Lily, Anna decided that on her own." Mr. Eastwood pounded the table in rage. I was relieved that Lily wasn't present in this chaotic scene. After a moment of silence, Anna began to speak. "Actually, I knew from your family registry that you were from Smith Iron Works. I suspected you might have approached me for revenge. But I wanted to believe you loved me. I thought that if we lived together, we could become a real family someday." Tears streamed down her face as she spoke. Shocked by her revelation, Mr. Eastwood and I exchanged glances. Jack also looked surprised and distressed. "Anna, are you an idiot? It's obviously for revenge. You think living together will make you a family? How delusional can you be? My father regretted what happened all the time. He made a terrible choice to protect his company, but with so many employees depending on him, he felt he had no other option back then. So, as his daughter, I wanted to at least make you happy, Jack." Hearing this, Jack fell silent, looking down. With tears in his eyes, Mr. Eastwood said, "If I had known this, I would have stopped your marriage with all my might. Maybe my brother wouldn't have died wrongfully. When I was in elementary school, I was falsely accused of taking John's eraser, which led to me being unable to attend school. The unjust way Anna's father died felt painfully close to my own experience." As various emotions of anger and sadness welled up inside me, I stared sharply at Jack. He suddenly looked away from everyone, his voice trembling as he spoke. "Yes, I did want revenge, but I never thought it would lead to his death. I wanted to hurt him mentally, but I never imagined it would come to this. When I realized what I had done was irreversible, I was scared of myself for a moment, but at that point, I felt there was no turning back. I thought I had to see it through to the end, and I let my heart be consumed by evil." Soon, the sound of his sobbing began to echo in the meeting room. Mr. Eastwood watched with a pained expression, and Anna continued to cry silently. Later, based on Jack's confession, we discovered he had illegally altered the company's registry to list himself as CEO. Therefore, Mr. Eastwood and I sued him for the crime of forgery. The company was then handed over to the previous president's eldest son, Anna's brother, who had been overseas, just as stated in the will. A month later, during the afternoon, Anna, Lily, and I were shopping at a nearby mall. Anna planned to return to Eastwood Electrical once Lily was a bit older, intending to support her brother, the new CEO. As we walked and talked, the three of us came across a children's event happening in front of us. Looking closely, I saw that the event involved drawing a family portrait and submitting it to the staff to receive a raffle ticket. I want to do that. Lily enthusiastically ran towards the event. Grabbing some paper and colored pencils, she began to draw something dynamically. Watching her from behind, Anna smiled and said, "That drawing is probably you, David." When she draws me, she always picks my favorite color pink, but today, she's using blue. Really? I guess she associates blue with me since I often wear blue ties and pajamas. As we chatted, Lily finished her drawing and turned to us with a big smile, holding up her artwork. "Done. Dave." On the paper she handed me, there was a large blue potato person and what seemed to be flowers at the end of stick-like arms. I took it, stared at it intently, and patted her hair while praising her, saying, "That's amazing." Anna peered over my shoulder and laughed. I knew it. When we handed the drawing to the staff, they seemed to assume I was her father. I didn't correct them and played along, securing the raffle ticket. They asked if it was a drawing of her dad, and I reflexively said yes. Do kids usually call their dads Dave? Well, some families do call each other by their names. It's not that strange. That's true. I really like how Lily adorably calls me Dave. Even if I actually became her dad, I'd want her to keep calling me that. I said this to Anna, then suddenly realized what I had implied. What was I thinking, talking about becoming her dad when we weren't even dating yet? Worried that I might have made her uncomfortable, I glanced at her. She was blushing and mumbled something under her breath. With all the noise around us, I couldn't hear her clearly and asked, "What is it?" But she seemed embarrassed and quickly changed the subject. A week later, in the evening, Mr. and Mrs. Eastwood kindly offered to watch Lily and said, "You should take a break for a change sometimes." So Anna left Lily with them for a few hours, and she and I went out for dinner together. She arrived at the chic restaurant wearing a sleek dress, a striking contrast to her usual practical clothes, which highlighted her beauty even more. Looking back, this might be the first time we've met alone. Realizing this made me nervous, and I found myself thirstier than usual, repeatedly ordering drinks. Thanks to you and my uncle, I heard Jack's true feelings and got the company back. I feel so relieved. I wouldn't have had the courage to go to court alone. I'm really grateful to have had you both. Her face looked brighter and more peaceful than before. Seeing her like this, I felt a renewed sense of fulfillment in my work as a lawyer. Although the long hours and hard work remained unchanged, Mr. Eastwood's influence had raised my profile within the firm. I was praised by my colleagues for handling the case well and felt more determined than ever to approach each case diligently. Then I thought, I really want to get revenge on Jack. As I was lost in a happy daze, she suddenly, and slightly tipsy, said. Startled by her mention of revenge, I instinctively asked, "What? Did you say revenge?" "Yes, that's right." Despite everything he did, he went on to be happy with his new girlfriend. It's unforgivable. So, after thinking it over, I decided I would get revenge on him. That's quite a dangerous proposition. I mean, considering his past actions, it's understandable, but how exactly do you plan to get revenge? I asked nervously. She chuckled mischievously and suddenly grabbed one of my hands tightly. By the three of us, me, Lily, and you, Dave, being as happy as we can be, I want him to deeply regret leaving such a great woman. After all the pain I've been through, I feel like I was meant to meet someone wonderful like you. So, I hope you feel the same way. She said this, looking up at me with tear-filled eyes. Blushing, I gently squeezed her hand back. Anna, have you had too much to drink? At that moment, I realized that the word she had mumbled a week ago at the shopping center was Dave. It was probably because I had mentioned how much I liked and found it adorable when Lily called me that. I don't want you to forget, so I'll say it again when you're sober, but I really do like you, Anna. Your kind words about Jack touched my heart. And I realized I want to spend my life with you. So let's make sure the three of us become so happy that everyone envies us. When I said that and smiled at her, she also smiled happily and said, yes. It was my first high school reunion since becoming the business owner I had always dreamed of being. I was looking forward to seeing my classmates after such a long time. But what awaited me was a nightmarish experience. A poor guy as a business owner? Is your house a doghouse? Travis's crude laughter echoed through the reunion venue. Travis used to be quieter and wasn't such a jerk. I wondered what had happened to make him like this. Regardless of the reason, not knowing what's appropriate to say at the age of 30 is pathetic. I was so shocked that I was speechless. Travis, without caring about my reaction, kept talking. After this, we're having the after party at your place. To my disbelief, Travis decided on my house as the after party venue without asking. I had no choice. I ended up guiding all my classmates to my house. There, Travis would never be able to call me a poor guy and look down on me again. My name is Harvey Underlake, and I'm 30 years old. My background is too complicated to describe in a single word. I lost both my parents to illness before I could even remember them. There were no relatives willing to take in such a young child, so I was sent to an orphanage. There, I met a kind, motherly teacher named Maggie. Maggie treated me with the love of a real son. When I had just entered elementary school and cried wanting to see my parents, she stayed by my side and comforted me with kind words. I'll always be here for you, Harvey. Come to me whenever you feel lonely. I was saved countless times by Maggie's gentle words. The orphanage was full of kids my age, and we grew up feeling like a big family. Although I didn't have parents, it was a warm environment. However, things changed when I entered middle school. Shortly after starting, I was teased at school for being from an orphanage. In elementary school, I never heard such things, so I felt completely safe and was filled with despair. Classmates even came to the front of the orphanage and shouted loudly, "You're a poor orphan. That's so lame." The other kids at the orphanage looked on in bewilderment. In a weak voice, I said, "Hey, stop it," but they ignored me. At that moment, Maggie rushed out from inside the orphanage. She was furious like a storm. "Hey! Where do you live? I need to go to your house and talk to your parents." If you can't say your address, don't do such mean things." When Maggie said that, the classmates ran off. I was so frustrated at my helplessness that I burst into tears. Maggie then said to me, "Don't let those terrible people get to you. Harvey, be strong. You have many good qualities that others don't. Develop those, so no one can look down on you." Maggie said it firmly, but did I really have good qualities? Lacking confidence, I looked down and muttered, "What are my good qualities?" Maggie looked me in the eye and said, "I know you have many good qualities, Harvey. Your parents are watching over you from heaven. You're not alone." Her words opened my eyes. I had Maggie and my parents in heaven. I decided to become strong and show those who tease me what I could become. I thought about what I needed to do to achieve that. That's when I came up with the idea of becoming a business owner. From that point on, I studied relentlessly. Although I hadn't decided yet what kind of business I would run in the future, I believed that if I became smarter through studying, the path would naturally open up. This way, my grades kept improving rapidly. My improved grades became apparent when I was studying for my high school entrance exams. Maggie suggested that I take a mock exam at the prep school and made the arrangements for me. Like my other classmates, I wanted to attend a prep school for high school entrance exams, but as a child raised in a facility, it was impossible for me. My classmates regularly took mock exams to gauge their level, but since I wasn't attending a prep school, I had no idea where I stood. That's when Maggie, being considerate, arranged for me to take the mock exam. Since the facility only provided the minimum living expenses, Maggie probably paid for it herself. This will help clarify what Harvey should study now and be beneficial for the high school entrance exams. Do your best. Maggie said this as she dropped me off in front of the prep school. I was only grateful to Maggie. After arriving at the mock exam venue and taking the test, all I had to do was wait for the results. In the meantime, I continued studying for the entrance exams from early morning till late at night. One day, during this routine, Maggie was astonished when she saw the mock exam results that arrived at the facility. The other teachers at the facility were also wide-eyed with surprise. Was my performance really that bad? Feeling anxious, Maggie showed me the results and said, "Harvey, you said before that you didn't know your strengths, right? Your strength is that you never give up and work hard towards your goals. This is something you won't lose to anyone." As I listened to Maggie's words, I stared at the mock exam results. The results were all A grades in every subject. With these grades, Harvey, you can probably get into any high school you want. Thank you. It's all thanks to you, Maggie. When I said this, Maggie put her hand on my shoulder. No, I didn't do anything. It's the natural result of your hard work, Harvey. Keep it up for the high school entrance exams. Maggie said so with a smile. Then, the day of the high school entrance exam came, and I was able to finish it successfully. I got into a high school known for its high academic standards. This was all thanks to Maggie and everyone at the facility who supported me. I decided to enjoy my high school life for everyone's sake. I spent the next 3 years with that in mind. In high school, I made good friends and had a lot of fun every day. Having enjoyed a fulfilling high school life, I reached my senior year and finally had to leave the facility. It was sad, but it was a rule that couldn't be changed. I was immensely grateful to the facility that had raised me so well, despite having no family. Especially to Maggie, who treated me like her son, I felt an indescribable amount of gratitude. As I was leaving the facility, Maggie handed me an envelope. The envelope was sealed tightly, so I couldn't see what was inside without cutting it open with scissors. Harvey, from now on, it's your life. Carve out the future you desire. If things get really tough, take a look inside this envelope. I swore to live my life to the fullest, just as Maggie had said. 12 years have passed since then. I am now a working adult, living a busy life every day. One day, as I was walking down the street on my way to an office, someone called out to me from behind. When I turned around, there was a stylish-looking man in a fancy suit standing there. Hey! Long time no see. You haven't changed a bit, so I recognized you right away, Harvey. I couldn't recall who this friendly man was. Since he spoke to me so warmly, he must have been someone I was close to. But strangely, I just couldn't remember who he was. Sorry, I can't seem to remember. What's your name? Thinking it would be rude to continue without remembering, I asked for his name. The man looked puzzled. How can't you remember? Is there even a brain in your head? Damn. I'm Travis, you know, we were together in high school. With those words, I finally remembered. But Travis looked completely different from back then, unrecognizable. Back then, Travis's trademark was his glasses, and he had no sense of style. He was always quiet, and we never really talked. Sorry. It's been a while, so it took me a moment. Travis, how have you been? What are you doing now? Trying to change the subject quickly, I asked Travis, who was in a bad mood. Travis started talking proudly. You know I've always been smart, right? So, I went to T University, and now I work at the famous N Corporation. Isn't that amazing? T University? That's impressive. When I said that, Travis looked at me and laughed derisively. Isn't it? Well, you were smart too, but since you grew up in a facility, you couldn't go to college, right? That's so pathetic. Even though everyone said you were smarter than me, you couldn't get ahead without a good environment. So, are you doing some part-time job now? I was stunned by Travis's words. Was I pathetic? I had never thought of myself as unfortunate. Travis's words were not true. But here, I didn't feel like arguing with Travis, who was looking down on me, so I decided to brush it off. Well, I'm working here and there. When I said that, Travis laughed. Must be nice for you. With low education, you can work casually without anyone saying anything. I'm jealous. Well, I'm busy, so see you. Travis said that unilaterally and left. What a guy. I was really irritated, but I didn't have time to deal with Travis. I thought I'd never see him again, so I decided to let it go. But then, another hellish event happened to me. It all started with a phone call from my high school classmate, Gordon. Hey, let's go out for a drink. I hadn't met up with any of my high school classmates because I was so busy, so I was thrilled by Gordon's invitation. Gordon was a particularly close friend during high school. We stayed in touch frequently, but it had been a year since we last met. Of course, I happily accepted Gordon's proposal and went to the pub where we agreed to meet. When I entered the pub and was shown to the table, I was astonished. It wasn't just Gordon who was there. Long time no see. It's been a year, hasn't it? I'm glad to see you're doing well. Gordon cheerfully called out to me. Hey! We meet again. To my surprise, Travis was also sitting at the table. I was too shocked to speak. Seeing me like that, Gordon said. You guys already ran into each other again? I ran into Travis just before coming in here, so I invited him for a drink. I was surprised at how much he had changed. I could only nod quietly to Gordon's words. Why did I have to meet Travis again? I felt a bit complicated. Unaware of my feelings, Gordon chatted happily with Travis. As the drinks flowed, we started reminiscing about our high school days. Then, Travis once again began to say unbelievable things, looking down on me. You were the top student in the class without even going to prep school, right? What trick did you use? Did you suck up to the homeroom teacher? I was speechless. Everyone knows that grades don't improve just by sucking up. For him to say such things with a straight face, he must be out of his mind. Thinking that, I said, that's not true. I couldn't go to prep school back then, so I studied desperately. Gordon then raised his voice to defend me. Travis! What are you talking about? Harvey was incredibly smart. Besides, he was popular with the girls because he was good-looking. When Gordon said that, Travis smirked maliciously. Harvey, smart? He must have cheated. And the girls were fooled too. Really, everyone has no eye for people. Travis said this and downed the beer in his hand. Gordon and I exchanged glances. It seemed Travis absolutely didn't want to acknowledge me. I didn't care whether Travis acknowledged me or not. What Travis thought of me was none of my business. But Gordon's face contorted. There's no way he cheated. Are you serious? Gordon's face turned red. Come on, we've been drinking. I don't mind, so don't raise your voice. I said to calm Gordon, and Travis started laughing. Then he said something shocking. Are you pretending to be a saint again? I've always been sick of that attitude of yours. I hate you for trying to make everyone like you by cheating, even though you're just a poor kid. A saint. What on earth was Travis talking about? As I was in shock, Gordon shouted at Travis. I shouldn't have invited you. Get out of here. You came here just to insult Harvey, didn't you? Is it because you've never beaten Harvey at anything since we were kids? Are you trying to get revenge now? With Gordon's words, Travis's face turned redder and redder. He started shaking with anger. No, that's not it. Someone from a facility like you was never on the same level as me from the beginning. Don't get the wrong idea. Travis said this, stood up, and left the restaurant. It was as quiet as if a storm had passed. Gordon desperately apologized to me. I had no idea Travis had become such a nasty person. I'm really sorry for bringing him here. It's not your fault, Gordon. Sometimes you run into people like that in life. But I hope I never see him again. When I said that, Gordon gave a wry smile. Then we started drinking again and had a great time. A few days after that hellish day, I got a call from Gordon. Wondering what it was about, I answered the phone, and an excited Gordon started talking. We're suddenly having a reunion with our close friends. Of course, you'll join, right? I won't force you if you're too busy with work, though. It was the first reunion invitation since graduating high school. There was no reason for me not to go, so I decided to accept the invitation. But I had one concern. Travis isn't coming, right? When I said that, Gordon laughed. Of course not. I wouldn't invite him. This is a reunion for our close friends. Relieved, I said, that I'll join, and Gordon happily hung up the phone. I was looking forward to catching up with my old classmates. At that time, I had no idea that this fun reunion would turn into another hellish experience. On the day of the reunion, I finished work early and headed to the restaurant where the reunion was being held. Along the way, I met up with Gordon. Gordon, also excited about the reunion, was a bit hyper. I wonder how everyone's doing. I can't wait to talk to them. Yeah, me too. Having this cheerful conversation, we entered the restaurant and found our old classmates gathered there. And that's when I saw something I shouldn't have. Gordon was also stunned. One of our classmates approached us. I invited Travis too, hope that's okay? I ran into him on the street the other day. The more the merrier at a reunion, right? Of course. Gordon said, though his voice was trembling. Despite everything Travis had said to Gordon at the bar, he still showed up. Perhaps Travis had nerves of steel. Why did I have to run into Travis again? As I was thinking that, another classmate called out to me. Harvey. Long time no see. What are you up to now? I decided to be honest with my classmate's question. I'm running a company now. Everyone was astonished at my words. Gordon added. Harvey is an amazing business owner. My classmate's eyes lit up. Harvey was always smart. That's incredible. While my classmates were expressing their admiration, Travis started laughing uproariously. A poor kid from a facility running a business? Do you live in a doghouse? Don't make me laugh. Travis's vulgar laughter echoed through the reunion venue. The classmates exchanged looks, shocked by his words. In this joyful reunion, I couldn't understand why he would say something to ruin the atmosphere, and I was in shock. Gordon once again raised his voice at Travis. That's incredibly rude. Even after hearing Gordon, Travis just laughed. And continued to make inflammatory remarks. I'm just saying what everyone else is thinking. Harvey is a far more capable business owner than you think. As soon as Gordon said this, the restaurant fell silent. I could only watch the scene unfold. No way. Hey, Harvey, isn't that right? Let's have an after party at your place. Hey, you can't just decide that. It would trouble Harvey. Gordon looked at me with concern. But this seemed like the only way to shut Travis up. I had no choice. All right. My place isn't far from here. You can come if you want. When I said this, Travis smiled smugly. I can't wait to see what kind of dump you live in. Travis's words cast a dark shadow over the restaurant. But soon, our classmates began to lighten up and shared high school memories enthusiastically. I made a phone call to a certain place. Gordon looked at me with concern. Are you sure about this? Yeah, I just made a call, so don't worry too much. Gordon still looked apologetic. After the reunion ended, we all headed to my place. When I stopped in front of a luxury high-rise, my classmates, including Travis, were astonished. Come on, keep moving. This is my home. What? This is a millions of dollars high-rise. There's no way someone like you could live here. Stop joking around. When Travis said that, Gordon started laughing. Has Harvey ever joked? He's not that kind of person. Yeah, right. So you really live here? That's incredible. The classmates were impressed, their eyes shining. Well, if you make too much noise here, it will disturb the neighbors. It's a $50 million doghouse, but go ahead. I said sarcastically, and Travis and the others were shocked. $50 million? No way. Travis bit his lip in frustration. Everyone followed me upstairs. When we reached the top floor, everyone gasped. Wow! You live in an amazing place. My classmates watched intently as I unlocked the door. Meanwhile, Travis looked at me with suspicion. There must be something fishy going on. What on earth is he talking about? How much does he look down on me? Sighing, I opened the door and found Sadie there. I'm home. Sorry for this suddenly. I said, and Sadie smiled. It's rare for you to bring friends over. Cody just went to bed, so it's fine. Seeing this, my classmates looked apologetic. Harvey, you're married? We had no idea you had such a beautiful wife and a child. Sorry for barging in. Travis, on the other hand, was staring at Sadie curiously. Sadie invited everyone into the living room. There was a feast laid out. In such a short time, While taking care of Cody, she had prepared all this for me. I couldn't be more grateful to Sadie. My classmates, overwhelmed by the atmosphere, started taking their seats. It's amazing that you live in such a grand place. What kind of work do you do to afford a house like this? One of the classmates asked, and once again, despite Sadie being right there, Travis said something unbelievable. You must be involved in something shady. Gordon was too exasperated to speak, and the other classmates looked incredulous. Sadie frowned, trying to suppress her anger. Here we go again. As I thought that, Travis started staring intently at Sadie again. Then, as if realizing something, his eyes widened. Noticing this, a concerned classmate looked at Travis. Hey, Travis, are you okay? You don't look well. Travis, clearly agitated, raised his voice. Aren't you the daughter of Mr. Morgan, my company's president? What are you doing here? Travis was so shocked he seemed about to collapse. Sadie let out a big sigh. Oh, you work at N Corporation. My father has no eye for talent, hiring someone as rude and awful as you. When Sadie said this, Travis trembled. The living room fell silent. I'm Harvey's wife. When Sadie said this, all my classmates looked at me simultaneously. And they all started talking at once. Harvey! You married into wealth. That's amazing. Travis looked incredulous. Then Sadie began to laugh. It's true that my parents are wealthy, with my father being the president of N Corporation, but this house was purchased by Harvey. He earns more than my father does. Everyone listened to Sadie's words with skepticism. Gordon addressed our classmates. Hey, do you know who built this building? Everyone was stunned. Travis shouted. That's easy. It's aita, the company that constructs famous buildings worldwide, right? It's often featured in news and magazines. Everyone knows that. Then, you should already know Harvey's profession. What? You mean aita is Harvey? No way. Travis was shocked. I decided to reveal my true identity. I'm the CEO of aita. What? You only graduated high school. There's no way a high school grad like you could run such a big company. Travis assumed that because I grew up in a facility, I only had a high school education. I'm fed up with Travis's condescending attitude. I've had enough. I don't know where you got the idea that I'm just a high school graduate, but I went to graduate school. That's where I met Sadie. Sadie nodded at me. Our classmates seemed confused. My late parents left money for me. No way. Travis said, eyes wide. In fact, during my senior year of high school, I had decided on a path. I wanted to become an architect. The reason I chose this path was because my father, who had passed away from illness, was an architect. I wanted to see the world through his eyes. To become an architect, I wanted to learn more specialized knowledge and decided to go to university. However, as a facility-raised child, I didn't have enough money for university. So, I decided to borrow scholarships and work while attending university. I knew it wouldn't be an easy path. But I didn't want to give up. After successfully getting into my desired university, I left the facility after graduating high school. At that time, Maggie gave me an envelope. I decided to follow her advice and open it only when things got really tough. That tough time came sooner than expected. Shortly after starting university life, I was suddenly told to vacate my apartment for renovations. Having no money, it was difficult for me to move immediately. Desperate, I looked inside the envelope Maggie had given me. To my astonishment, inside was a bank book in my name. There was a letter from Maggie tucked inside, saying, "This is the money your parents saved for you. Use it wisely." When I saw the amount in the bank book, I was stunned. There were hundreds of thousands of dollars in it. I was overwhelmed with tears, realizing my parents had saved such a large amount for me. Having never felt my parents' love before, I received it in an unexpected way. Gratefully, I used the money to go to university and graduate school. It was there that I met my wife, Sadie. Sadie didn't mind that I was from a facility and became my girlfriend. She also volunteered to help underprivileged children in facilities and was kind to everyone around her. Wanting to spend my life with such a wonderful person, I proposed to Sadie. We got married. And later had our son Cody. Sadie supported my dream of becoming a business owner, and I was able to establish aita. Word of my talent spread among those who recognized it, and now I get to work on architectural projects around the world. Sadie handed a drink to the stunned Travis. Now you understand, right? Harvey achieved success through his own efforts. Just because someone grew up in a facility doesn't mean they have to be poor. You've looked down on Harvey since we reunited. But he's not the person you think he is. In reality, you shouldn't even be talking to someone like him. The classmates were all silent. Travis looked at me with resentment. Why does everything always work out for you, Harvey? I've worked hard since our school days. I studied at multiple prep schools to keep up with you. Yet the teachers and classmates always favored you. Why does someone who didn't even have to try always get the good things? It seemed Travis had harbored a competitive spirit towards me since our school days. I was surprised to learn about Travis's true feelings for the first time. Then Sadie started talking to Travis. Your name is Travis, right? Harvey has worked twice as hard because he didn't have parents. But he persevered and built his current position. You're smart too, so you understand, right? I understand. But I can't accept it. Travis stared straight at Sadie. Sadie also didn't avert her gaze. You got a job at the prestigious N Corporation, so you've worked hard too. I understand that feeling of frustration, but let's stop now. Hating others won't get you anywhere. It's not too late to change. When Sadie said that, Travis began to cry loudly. Gordon and the classmates were wide-eyed. The once sharp-tongued Travis looked weak and frail. Travis, trembling, spoke in a weak voice. Harvey. What I did was terrible. I'm ashamed of myself. But listening to Sadie, I woke up. I'm really sorry. Can you forgive me? Gordon nodded at me. I approached Travis and placed my hand on his shoulder. Everyone makes mistakes. Understanding them is what matters. When I said that, Travis cried even more. Now that Travis has seen the light, let's drink tonight. Gordon's words were a signal, and we all had a great time. After that, Travis became a different person, kinder and more gentle. Perhaps because of this, he met his soulmate at work and got married. Of course, Sadie and I were invited to the wedding. Travis looked so happy, and it made us happy to see him that way. As we were leaving, Travis said to me, "Thanks to you and Sadie, I've been reborn. I'm really grateful. Please stay friends with me forever." Of course. Let's keep in touch. Travis and I shook hands firmly. That's how Travis and I became best friends. People grow through their mistakes. What matters is how you build on those mistakes. I intend to cherish this encounter and the happiness I have now. I'm an executive at that top-tier company, making $300,000 a year. It's a world apart from being poor. Did you work at a major corporation, Alex? Are you that surprised? It's one of the biggest companies. Actually, I'm going to work with XYZ Corp next. They're launching a new product. I'll show it to you guys, but don't show anyone else, okay? I'm working on the ad campaign to promote it. Alex. I walked up to Alex. My name is John, I'm 30, and working hard. Right now, I'm troubled. It's not about work. I received an invitation to a class reunion and I'm debating whether to go. It's not that I can't get time off. But I just don't feel like attending the reunion. There are a few reasons. Currently, I own a company and I'm quite fulfilled with my work. I hate to admit it, but I dislike being I because of my company and title. People who weren't interested in me before suddenly change their tune when they hear about my company and title. It's uncomfortable, making me feel like they don't value me for who I am. If my old classmates act that way, I dread it. It feels like the pure friendships from school would vanish instantly. Am I overthinking this? The reunion. I didn't go back home for our last one, so it's been a long time since I've seen everyone. I wonder how they've changed. Part of me wants to see everyone, but another part is reluctant. Of course, it's not just because of my company or title. The main reason is, there's someone I don't like. Thinking about him still makes me feel uneasy. His name is Alex. He used to tease me a lot. Hey, what's up? Why are you looking at me like that? Do you want to join us? But nope. You can't, you're injured. So just watch from the sidelines. I know. My parents and the doctor said no strenuous activity. We're playing soccer today, so you just watch and cheer. If you really insist, you can join, but only as the goalkeeper who doesn't move much. I'll just watch. Have fun, everyone. Sorry, I'd really like to include you, but you're on crutches, right? Get well soon. Alex and I went to the same elementary school and preschool. We weren't childhood friends, but we knew each other. He started acting cold towards me in 5th grade. Back in elementary school, I was good at studying and fast at running. I loved soccer. Alex was in the soccer club too. Maybe he didn't like me getting all the attention, always seeing me as a rival. Even so, I was happy. Working hard with a friend. And knowing Alex saw me as a rival. But one day, I got injured. I twisted my ankle playing soccer. The doctor said it was a fracture, and I had to use crutches for a while. That's when it started. Alex began treating me coldly. Too bad you can't play soccer anymore. While you're sitting out, I'll keep getting stronger. Don't be mad if I take your spot. I'm working on what I can at home. And if you become a regular, I'll be happy for you. That's what I can't stand about you. As a kid, I didn't get it, but Alex didn't see me as a rival, he hated me. So, when I got injured, he probably thought, serves you right. While I was sidelined, Alex worked hard and became a regular. But at the same time, he began looking down on me. That guy is so lame now. He used to be good at sports in elementary and middle school. People used to say he was good at both academics and sports. But since high school, he's just a nerd. Probably embarrassed he can't play sports anymore. Hey, I can hear you. I quit the club by choice. So stop talking like that. You quit because you couldn't keep up with me, right? You used to be the one everyone expected great things from, too bad. I'm going to keep pushing in soccer, so you just focus on studying. What's wrong with focusing on studying? I'm working hard to get into a good college. Don't talk like that, we're friends, aren't we? Friends. Don't make me laugh. I've never considered you a friend. We just happen to go to the same elementary and middle school. We're not friends or childhood buddies. It's embarrassing, don't say that anywhere else. Is that so, you really hate me, Alex? You don't get it. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. I don't hate you, I'm just not interested in you. He said things like that, but it was clear he was aware of me. I used to think we could be friends again, rivals like before, but slowly, I started to give up on that. At the same time, I made new friends and felt there was no need to get close to Alex. Even when we ended up in the same class in high school and he would make snide comments. I was fortunate to be surrounded by good people. Thanks to that, I graduated high school without much trouble. I wonder if Alex will come too. Well, we're adults now. He won't go out of his way to make snide remarks. Besides, I'd like to see everyone. I'll attend the reunion. There are people I want to see other than Alex. I marked my attendance and sent back the response. On the day of the reunion, we rented a private room at a bar. Seeing familiar faces made me feel happy. People change a lot in 10 years. Some women had become really beautiful, and some guys were so thin I couldn't recognize them. Looking around, everyone had changed, for better or worse. But I guess I had changed too. Is that you, John? Ha! That voice, is that Sarah? Long time no see. I was sure you wouldn't come, so I'm surprised. I almost didn't recognize you. It's really you, right? I was undecided until the last minute, but I happened to have a day off and wanted to see everyone. Long time no see, Sarah. We've really changed, haven't we? I mean, in a good way, of course. You've become quite handsome, John. Hey, stop it. You've changed a lot too, class leader. Hearing that title after so long feels strange. In front of me was Sarah, a classmate. Sarah was the class leader. So everyone called her by her title instead of her name. I could never forget. Sarah had a very clear and beautiful voice. That voice hadn't changed since our school days. Not only that, her beautiful appearance hadn't changed either. It might be rude to say she hadn't changed, she had become even more beautiful, and it was surprising. I'm glad you came, John. I've been wanting to talk to you. I tried to get your contact information at the last reunion, but you didn't attend. A lot happened, so I couldn't go. I lost all my contacts when I graduated from high school. I thought we were good friends, but you didn't give me your new contact info, so I was shocked. It's not like that. My phone fell in water and I lost all the data. It was cheaper to get a new contract than to change phones. So that's what happened. Everyone's been curious about what you've been up to. Well, I'm just working like everyone else. I answered evasively. If they knew I was running a company, would Sarah's view of me change too? Thinking that, I couldn't bring myself to tell her. But then someone called out to us. The person speaking was, "Long time no see, John. You haven't changed at all. I recognized you from afar. Didn't expect you'd come, are you that free? Long time no see, Alex. It seems we're both still the same. Hey, don't lump us together. There's no way we're the same. Oh, is that the class queen, Sarah? Stop teasing. I was never the queen. That's exactly why everyone liked you. There were plenty of guys who had a crush on you. I bet it's still the same. So, do you have a boyfriend now? Or are you already married? Ha ha ha. Stop asking such rude questions. You're making her uncomfortable. Uncomfortable? Come on, everyone's curious, so I'm asking on their behalf. Unless, are you two dating? It's not like that. Thanks, John. But I'm not hiding anything. I don't have a boyfriend right now. And I'm not married either. Really? It's surprising that the class queen isn't married yet. Actually, I'm not married either. Maybe we're destined to be together. Just kidding. You might be drinking too much. Us dating, that's a funny joke. It's not a joke. I'm serious. Guys in their 30s are fine, but for women, it's different, right? So, how about dating a handsome guy like me? You're still the same, Alex. Oh, someone over there is calling you. Huh? Well, they can't have fun without me. Hey, Sarah, let's talk more later, okay? With that, he happily walked away. Alex had changed, but in a bad way. He didn't used to be so arrogant and self-centered. But somehow, he had become like that. He's changed. Alex. You didn't know, did you? Alex is working for a pretty big company. He was supposed to start his own business. But he's earning well at a major firm, so he keeps saying he'll do it eventually. Is that so? He's working hard, then. That's not the problem. His attitude has changed. He says things like women should obey men because he has money, women should stay at home. And poor people are pitiable. I heard he's been saying things like that a lot. Really? I wouldn't get along with that mindset either. Right? When we met at the last reunion, it wasn't this bad, but did you know about the reunion we had at 25? Yeah, I knew about it. I got the invite but was too busy with my company to attend. By then, he was already like this. Honestly, I couldn't keep up with him. But there are people who don't mind. I glanced over at Alex. The women around him looked delighted, clinging to him. Alex wasn't a gloomy person, and he got along with everyone, but this was different. It was like everyone was just flattering him. That was what I feared the most. Having money and working at a big company really changes people. I was thinking the same. Sure, having money and a good job is important, but we never thought about that as students, right? No one cared about dating the top student or marrying an athlete. It's sad. Exactly. I have a big company too, and I hate when women change their attitude because of that. Not that all women are like that, but I understand. It's easy to be judged and stereotyped. Sarah looked into the distance. Her profile seemed a bit forlorn. But our peaceful moment didn't last, as Alex came back like a storm. Hey, how about we all go out for drinks sometime? You mean like an after party today? No, I want us to get together again, apart from the reunion. I'll pay for everything. What? You'll cover the whole bill? That's a bit much. Don't lump me with you. I work for a major company, you know? I'm an executive at a top-tier firm. Wow, really? That's impressive, Alex. You've worked hard. Unlike you. So, Mr. Bookworm, what are you doing now, John? I'm currently. I thought about giving him my business card, but then everyone would know my company name. But hiding it or lying felt wrong, so I hesitated. Alex didn't miss that moment. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Must be a no-name company, right? My bad for asking. That's not it. Don't worry. I get what you're trying to say. So, I guess I'm the most successful one in our class, huh? Not everyone can be an executive at a top-tier company. Look at those girls, their eyes are sparkling. Some of them are married or have boyfriends. Yet they're all over me, calling me cool and amazing. Feels great. Alex whispered this to me, clearly enjoying himself. Is that so? I don't really get it. You don't get it because you've never been doted on. Don't kid yourself. And hey, your remarks are off. It's not I don't get it, it's I don't get it because I've never been doted on. I envy you, right? Stop it. You've been sounding really rude. Calm down, Sarah. We're not that close, so stop calling me like we're old friends. Back then, everyone held back because you were the class queen. But now, don't you think I'm a fitting match for you? What are you talking about? I mean, I work at a major company now, and I'm not bad looking. Honestly, guys like me are rare. I don't understand what you're saying. To be blunt, I want to go on a date with you. What do you say? People enjoy dating me, you know. They get to eat delicious food. Get brand name accessories. You'd have a good time. Thanks, but no thanks. I buy what I want myself. I don't rely on a boyfriend or husband, let alone a former classmate like you. Sarah shot back. Alex, not expecting that, looked surprised, then embarrassed, and quickly rattled off. Okay. It's fine, I can always get a girlfriend. Anyway, you both are joining, right? It's rare to get everyone together like this. I'm planning it for next week or the week after. Sure, I'll join. What? Sarah, you're going? Yes. I'm thinking of joining. How about you, John? Sarah looked a bit anxious. Maybe that's why I found myself agreeing. Alright, I'll join too. I'll send you the details, so make sure to check. Alex said that and went back to his group of admirers. Meeting Alex again. Honestly, I felt a bit down, almost wanting to sigh. Sorry. It's because I said I'd go, right? You looked worried, so I thought I'd check on you. I didn't really want to go, but look at Jessica. Jessica. Oh, Sarah's friend from school. Yes, Jessica. Recently, she's been talking about wanting to marry Rich, and she's excited to see Alex. Frankly, I don't want her to date him. It's Jessica's choice, of course, but it doesn't seem like it would end well. I see. So you decided to go to look out for your friend? You're still as considerate as ever, kind-hearted. It's not that. I just want my friends to be happy. Sorry if it feels like I dragged you into this. I understand wanting your friends to be happy. I decided to go because I didn't want you to feel bad. So, don't apologize. You've really changed, John. Huh? How have I changed? You seem more confident with women. No way. I've been focused on work, and I haven't dated recently. It's not like I'm used to it. Is that so? It felt like you had more confidence than back in school. Maybe it was just my imagination? Don't tease me. I just want to communicate clearly because of my job. Got it. Thanks for caring about me. The reunion ended. At home, I wasn't thinking about Alex, but about Sarah. I liked Sarah back in school. Meeting her again, it wasn't like I suddenly realized I still liked her. But somehow, I couldn't get her out of my mind. The following days were busy with work. And before I knew it, the day to go out with Alex and the others had come. Fewer people than the reunion, but still a good number. Alex had rented out a nice restaurant, and he was smiling happily. Hey, you too. Long time no see. Well, it's only been 2 weeks. Did you come together? You two are pretty close, huh? It's not like that. We just ran into each other in front of the restaurant and came in together. I see. You don't often get a chance to eat such delicious food, so enjoy it. Thanks, we'll take advantage of it. I thought Alex would stick to Sarah again or ask her out on a date, but today, he seemed quieter than last time. He was talking and having fun with our other classmates. That's a relief. A relief about what? Oh, I'm glad Alex isn't bothering you or Jessica. Thanks for worrying about us. What the hell, you make me sound like a troublemaker. Were you listening? When did you come over here? I thought I'd join the conversation. Do you know why I didn't hit on Sarah today? Because she's not suitable for me. Not suitable? She works a lot and supposedly got dumped by her fiancé. Where did you hear that? I don't remember, but I heard it. It's good to work, but you should be careful not to lose your charm. If she married someone capable like me, she wouldn't need to work. I've got money, unlike someone here. He announced this loudly to everyone. When he said someone, he looked directly at me. He wanted to show he was superior to me. I wondered if coming here was a mistake. My company is huge. No one's never heard of it. And I'm an executive. I make $300,000 a year. It's a world apart from being poor. Wait, you work at a big company? Why so surprised? It's one of the biggest firms. When did you become an executive? Just last month. I was surprised when they offered it, but it makes sense. A guy like me is rare, so it was inevitable. I don't recall giving you a raise. Huh? What are you talking about, John? Because that company. Not giving a raise? Huh, of course not. You don't work there. Have you had too much to drink? Are you okay? No, listen to me. I work at that company. In fact, I'm going to be working with XYZ Corp next. They're launching a new product. I'll show you all, but don't show anyone else. I'm working on the ad campaign. Alex. My loud voice startled Alex. And everyone around us. But I couldn't worry about that now. What do you think will happen if you show that to everyone? Why are you making that scary face? What are you talking about? That's classified information. You're not supposed to show it to anyone. And working with XYZ Corp was supposed to be a secret too. How do you know about that? Because the company you work for, even if it was recently merged, you should at least know the name of the chairman. I handed him my business card. Alex's eyes widened as he looked back and forth between the card and my face. Our classmates did the same. Sarah was among them. No way. Chairman? The famous global company with many overseas branches. The chairman is you, John? I didn't mean to hide it, but I didn't think it was something to brag about. Now, you understand, right? Alex, you said you became an executive, but what was the company's name before the merger? I can't say. It's, well, never mind. We'll look into it thoroughly. You mentioned a raise, but there haven't been any significant raises recently. Some people had their salaries adjusted based on performance, but your name wasn't among them, Alex. Well, Our classmates seemed to catch on to the situation from our exchange. Some looked uncomfortable, while others chuckled quietly. No wonder. Alex had boasted about working at a major company, rented out a restaurant, and laughed at others for being poor. He even hit on beautiful women. Many must have found his comeuppance satisfying. We'll have to discuss this thoroughly within the company. If you've shown classified information here, it's likely you've shown it to others as well, right? No. I don't think so. You don't think so? You should know if you shared company secrets. Do you know if you have or not? Sometimes when I drink, my memory gets fuzzy. I think it's fine, though. This is unacceptable. We'll investigate thoroughly. Consider your position in the company terminated. Why are you turning on me now? Just because you're the chairman? You didn't say anything at the reunion, just smiling like an idiot. I didn't care then because you were just another person. No matter how much you tried to show off, I wasn't interested. But now, it's different. Alex, you're an employee of my company. If you're doing something wrong, it's my duty as your superior to address it. Oh, sure, acting all high and mighty now because you outrank me. I get it. You're just trying to put me down. Maybe you don't remember, Alex, but I do. You once said, the opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. I didn't care where you worked or how much you tried to show off. But when I heard the name of your company, I couldn't ignore it. It turns out you were actually working for a subsidiary of my company. Alex's company's name wasn't that unusual. I had wondered but didn't pursue it deeply. But now, it was clear. Alex worked for a subsidiary of my company. I couldn't just overlook this. Not that it's a matter of leniency. If I let Alex continue unchecked, it could lead to major issues for our company. I immediately stepped away and called the office. Later, I arranged a meeting with Alex. But Alex ran after me. I'm sorry. I won't let this happen again. Please forgive me this time. I just became an executive. I can't afford to mess up now. The responsibility lies with you, Alex. Being an executive means supporting the company and its employees. You can't handle that responsibility. We're not a charity. No. But Alex crumpled to the floor. After settling the bill, he disappeared. He probably didn't want to be laughed at or have rumors spread. After Alex left, everyone kept chatting, somewhat amused by the situation. I don't like this atmosphere. I'm going home. You're leaving? Then I think I'll go too. It's not fun without you, John. Really? You don't have to follow me. There are still other classmates here. I wasn't planning on coming today, remember? I only came because I was worried about my friend. Can we talk a bit on the way to the station? Honestly, I felt a little disappointed. I liked Sarah as a person. But if she suddenly turned around and said she wanted to date or had always liked me, I wouldn't know how to react. What's wrong? You look troubled. Well, I didn't plan to reveal my company's details, now I regret how it turned out. Is that all? Don't worry, I'm not going to start hitting on you just because of that. What? It's written all over your face. You looked a bit disappointed. Don't worry, I'm a woman who can stand on her own. Sorry if I made you uncomfortable. It's fine. But it does hurt a bit to be treated like everyone else. Sarah handed me her business card. The company name on her business card was... What? You work for this company? It's a huge firm. Yeah, I love my job and I love who I am when I'm working. But my fiancé left me because of it. That was 2 years ago. Still, I love my job and I won't change for anyone. That's really cool, Sarah. Right? I don't like the idea of because you're a woman or because you're a man. I think it's fine to live doing what you love. Yeah, I think so too. Too bad for you, though. I didn't fall for you. Sarah gave me a mischievous smile. That smile hadn't changed since our school days. Ha ha ha. I can't win against you, class leader. Stop calling me that already. Oh, you. Honestly, it was me who fell in love with her after seeing that smile. After some persistence on my part, I managed to start dating her. Now, we're both working hard and supporting each other. We have a good balance and are great partners. As for Alex, he resigned from the company and faced lawsuits for damages. Not just from our company, but also from the other firm. He's now in debt and struggling to find a new job. But the saying, the opposite of love is indifference, holds true. I've moved on from Alex, focusing on Sarah and our future together.